as I travel on the road to recovery all around America to share people's inspirational stories of overcoming addiction. And I learn a lot about the music industry. I see people in that industry find addiction, lose their lives to addiction. And when someone in that industry finds recovery, it's inspirational. And I hope my guest this week will inspire you. Tommy Gunz from Detroit to South Florida followed his story, and he's able to share his inspirational story with others and help people find their path to recovery through music. This is the story of Tommy Gunz.
My addiction started way before I even picked up a drink or a drug. When I was a kid, I always had this void inside of me that always needed more of something, more love, more attention, more of whatever toy, whatever I was playing with, and it was this obsession, constantly feeling less than, better than. So it was this addiction to self that I couldn't put into words because I was a little kid, but you know, by the time I was 15, 16 and got introduced to drinking and drugging, the symptom was, you know, me consistently using something to change the way I felt about myself, and that instant gratification filled that void for a time being.
About 15, he was about 15 years old, yes. And he actually moved to California to, his dad and I were divorced, and he moved to California to live with his dad. As he got older, he wanted to spend time with his dad. And that's when he first got mixed up with it, was out there in California, yeah.
You know, from 16 to 17, I escalated to crystal meth. 17 to 18. By the time I was 18, I'd already overdosed on cocaine. Been kicked out of my parents' house and just started ripping and running from Detroit and California back and forth, always bringing myself with me. And I still didn't think I had a problem. I always thought my problem was a particular substance or a situation, you know. In 2008, I had an injury that caused me to get facial reconstructive surgery, and I was introduced to opiates to help deal with the pain. And that was like when drugs really bit for me, because it was something that filled the void in a way nothing else did. They were the only thing that were able to bring me to my knees in a way nothing else could. And when they brought me to my knees, the process of recovery, you know, the denial was removed, and I was ready to actually give this a genuine shot.
Probably the hard part was he wasn't even part of my life when he was at his worst, where we literally went probably a couple years where I never even spoke to him.
So my recovery picked up. You know, I tried it in 2012 and lasted a little over a year, but I never worked anything on my insides. It was all exterior.
He was clean for a year once before, and then he went back. And during that time, he didn't get I think the psychological help that he needed to get him through it. It was more like he just did it.
Going into 2013, or the end of 2013, 2014, I relapsed. And it lasted for about 2 months, and everything that people told me was going to happen when I picked back up not only happened, but it happened tenfold. And I was so humiliated so fast, and the worst part was like the drugs stopped working. Like, I would get high, but it wasn't taking away the feelings inside anymore, and that was a really scary place to be. So you know, recovery then became something that I craved because I had a taste of it before, and I was seeing other people that stuck with it and seeing their lives get better. So when I jumped into it this time, I took the suggestions, I jumped in head first, and you know, it's been working out for me since. Next week I celebrate 2 years completely abstinent from all drugs and alcohol on June 16th. A lot of the self-esteem issues that I had before that led me to use are starting to mend themselves. All the things that I did that messed my life up really weren't for me. They were lessons that I went through so that I could help somebody else. And then the self-esteem starts to build itself up, kind of inadvertently, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? What started this? You know, I've been making music since I was 18. Never expected it to take me where it is now. It was a very, like, I just do it for fun, hanging out with my buddies when we were smoking weed. But this last time I went to treatment, my counselor suggested that in order for me to complete, I did a goodbye letter to addiction. And, you know, I decided to write it in poem form. And then they had me perform it my last night in treatment. And when I did that and seeing other addicts react to it, it like kind of opened up, like it was like, wow, wait a minute, I could use my music to help people that are just like me, you know what I mean? And from there I started taking, you know, well-known hip-hop songs and putting a recovery addiction feel to it, and my own words, and you know, one thing led to another. Next thing I know, I'm down here in Florida working where I'm at, you know what I mean? So.
The first time I felt you, I'll never forget that rush, as it was if all of the voices in my head had been hushed. I was in love with a chemical reaction I can't explain, but nonetheless I was obsessed with every thought and every way. Every day I spent serving you, working into the night. No matter how bad shit got, you tell me I was alright. I gave my best parts to you, all you brought I was my worst. A mirage, you had me trying to quench a never-ending thirst. I put you first and foremost before my life, love, health. To have you felt like heaven, without you would live in hell. Got me sick as hell hearing what you did with my friends. Ironic, when they died, still on you I would depend. How many times I said we're done, you just look at me and laugh. Let me walk away knowing that I run right back. The biggest whore I'd ever met, man, you'd even touch kids, but I still couldn't let you go, I had to get my fix. Honestly, what was I fixing? So broken in my addiction, begging doctors to fix me, they give me back as a prescription. It's hard to see with pin pupils as I kiss you goodbye from blue lips. Looking at the man in the mirror, asking myself, who's this? I wish I could go back to before we ever met, before you told me I was cool when I was smoking cigarettes. I believed you back then, now without you I can't breathe, even though I wake up coughing till my lungs start to bleed. I've lied, robbed, cheated, stolen just to keep you close, but nothing's ever good enough when you're in love with a parasitic host. But today's a little different, I'm not running anymore, cause I feel great without you better than ever before. I see you for what you are, not what you pretend to be. My lover, my best friend, was really my enemy. All your clever disguises, money, weed, women, pills, powder, designer clothes. Simply put, sin in my dear sweet addiction. It's time that I let you go. Went from thinking we was a family to blinking and use a hoe. You don't deserve the people serving you. You deserve an eternity burning in hell's fire for murdering in the first degree. I'm removing you surgically. You are no longer hurting me. Told me to say goodbye to you, so I'm wording it perfectly, making letters connected until the rhymes are perfected. This isn't no warning shot, cause I'm coming straight for your head, bitch, until I'm leaving you headless. Nope, I will never regret this. I'm speaking with deep conviction and hoping you get the message. My essence is finally blessed, professing in front of peers and letting you be the judge from hearing my people cheer. No longer living in fear, stronger the longer I'm here. The song is for all the souls. I'm standing in front of here with all of you as my witness and begging God for forgiveness. I'm serving up an eviction to all of my past addictions. I'm finally understanding while standing up on my own. I'm manning up to the madness. I'm finally going home. Don't follow me like a clone. Just stand up on your own and follow that righteous path like me when I'm writing poems. So much better than getting stoned and isolating alone. I'd rather express my feelings than holding a microphone. I'm grateful for my addiction and all that I learned about me, but honestly it's doing fine taking lives without me. So let me just say this proudly and loudly so you can hear it. I'm leaving drugs all alone, no longer the interfering. Been blessed with the Holy Spirit, the tongues to deliver lyrics. So much love's been given to me, my recovery starting fearless. Shout out to Group 1, I couldn't have done it without you. I hope that I make you proud and you feeling his love surround you. Sincerely signing off, your formerly fiended out friend. Go fuck up someone else's life, tonight for me it ends. Peace.
Unplugged happened because last year, around April or May, a group of people that had been following my music online, Addicts Mom, I'm sure you've heard of them, one of them reached out to me and said that they were having an event for awareness down in South Florida and wanted me to come out and perform and speak. And in the middle of me performing, the lady that was hosting it comes over and like kind of shuts my show down, and she's like, oh, we got a special guest here. And I remember getting kind of frustrated, like, what do you mean? Like, I just flew in from Detroit, why are you shutting me down? She's like, I think he's from Aerosmith or something like that. And I remember kind of being like, that's all you had to say, you know? And next thing I know, this guy, you know, now I know is Richie Supa, comes walking up on stage and starts talking about how, you know, he works at a treatment center where the whole thing's built around music, and they focus on recovery triggers and use music, and it's not psychobabble, and they're trying to use the music to appeal to an addict's heart and soul, because if you can touch the heart. And I was just loving everything he was saying. I'm like, wow, there's a treatment center that's doing what I'm doing by myself up north. And after I got done performing, you know, he had this big crowd of people around him trying to get his autograph and stuff, and he made them all move out of the way and asked me to come over. And he was like, you know, young man, I don't know if it means anything to you, me being an old rock guy, but, you know, I know talent when I hear it, and you got the talent, you got the voice, you got an image, and you got a message, and you belong down here working with us. So what's it gonna take? And I'm like, man, I live in Detroit, you know, and he looked over at the director of operations here and was like, can we create a position and get him down here? So that was in May, and then I got a call a couple weeks later from Paul Pellinger, the owner and basically the idea behind this whole thing. And he was like, Richie Supa's been in my office every day for like 2 weeks, and I'm asking me when we're bringing Tommy down, and I gotta figure out who the hell are you and why are you, you know, on Richie's mind all the time, you know? And so we started talking, and we hit it off, and he said, well, why don't you come on down here? So, you know, it's just You know, one day I'm in Detroit, you know, living at my buddy's house, basically living off of CDs and T-shirt sales, no job, not knowing what I'm doing, but trying to chase my passion and follow my recovery. And the next day, you know, I'm in South Florida. I don't know how to put it in words, but like, I'm allowed to do what I feel is best in a group as long as it's built around music. So me being a recovering addict, if I come in and I'm like, I look at the schedule for the day and they're like, okay, today we're gonna learn about, you know, humility. Like I know music where the artists, whether it's hip hop, rock, country, whatever, have humility expressed throughout the whole song, or the opposite of humility, you know? And there's a lot of heart here, you know? At the end of the day, there's the people that work here have the biggest hearts. They want to see the clients not only get clean, but they want to see them go on to live meaningful lives. And I think that that's something that's missing in treatment nowadays. That
it's important that we share our stories. It's important that we're not anonymous, that we can overcome stigma and overcome other people's stigma, especially for someone in the music industry when they find recovery. They need to share it, and that's what he does. I'm just beyond words how grateful I am to share these stories with you, but to be able to share Tommy Gunz's story with you is really inspiring. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm Michael De Leon. We'll see you on the next episode of On the Road to Recovery.
Take us